What is up, YouTube? That's it here, bringing you guys another top 5 Pokemon for competitive play. We're looking at the top 5 best fighting types in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Now, there's only 5 fighting types that are fully evolved in this game. You got Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, you got Primeape, you got Machamp, and there's one more, Poliwrath. And so it's kind of weird. All of these Pokemon, I would say, are like really about as equal as they're gonna be. Not any of them are that much better or worse than the other ones. Now, one of the reasons why fighting types aren't super popular in this game is because psychic types are so dominant, like Mewtwo, Gengar. Well, Gengar's not really it's not really a psychic type, but it more often than not no psychic, and fighting types are known for using fighting attacks which don't hit go. So it's like there's so many good Pokemon. Starmie's another one that just make it so these Pokemon are almost impossible to use in most teams, because most teams have at least one, if not 2, if not 3 psychic Pokemon, or at least Pokemon that know psychic type moves. But there is a shining light. One good thing about these Pokemon is they actually learn a lot of really good moves, and these are some of the best physical Pokemon in the game. You want to hit things like Muck, you want to hit things like Snorlax, you want to hit things like Chanseys. These are some of your go-to Pokemon to do it with. I would say one weird thing about these Pokemon is they have very similar base speeds, very similar base attacks, very similar base stats overall, and so there's going to be slight differences that, you know, really put them apart in terms of like 1st through 5th in this top 5. One last thing before we get into it, I want to hear what your top 5 is of fighting in the comments. Leave a comment. I want to hear what it is. Type it out. Maybe you got some reasons, you can put those as well. I want to see if anyone's top 5 actually matches my top 5. Like I said, all of these Pokemon are so close, it's going to be so hard to tell, and I don't think anyone's going to get the same top 5 as me, and I want to see if anyone can match me, as well as, like, anyone that wants to, you know, discuss movesets and stuff like that in the comments below. I'm always down for discussing things. Leave some comments, leave some, like, watch till the ends, and, you know, that'd really help me out, guys. Thank you so much for watching this series. I hope you guys like them, and we're gonna keep it going. Don't forget to also leave a comment and say what type you want to see me work on next, because we still have a few of those left to go. So without further ado, we're gonna hop right on into this one, and we are gonna be looking at number 5. So number 5, like I said, we're gonna look at every fighting type, and there's only 5 of them that are fully evolved. Like, I'm not gonna talk about things like Machoke or like that's it. Machoke and Machop. That's pretty much it. We're obviously not going to be talking about Mega Mewtwo because that's an Uber. We don't play Ubers here. You know, we use legendaries sometimes like Articuno and Zapdos, but those aren't really Ubers. So, not talking about Mega Mewtwo. Mega Mewtwo, we'll put him as like a 0 slot because he's just like too good. But yeah, so there's only 5 of these guys. So which one is unlucky number 5? It pains me to say it, guys. It pains me to say it, because it's actually my favorite on the whole list. I think it's the coolest fighting type in the game. It's Hitmonchan. We're going to talk about the reason for Hitmonchan. Obviously, we're going to go check on Hitmonchan. We're going to add him to our party. We're going to say peace out to Nidoran. Peace, Nidoran. I don't even know why that was in my team. Anyways, we're going to check out Hitmonchan, and we're going to talk about why I actually think it's the worst fighting type out of all these other ones. Note that I'm using an Impish Hitmonchan. That's going to boost its defense and lower its special attack. Other common natures are things like Careful and Adamant and Jolly. Those are all good. Note that I'm going with an Impish one just because this is the one that was given to me in this gym in Saffron City for my Ivies. Those are pretty good. This Pokemon works. Also note that Hitmonchan, if you look at his stats here, has a relatively decent base special defense. You can see his defense is comparable, but that's with a defense boosting nature. So I wanted to go for like some sort of like a mixed wall Hitmonchan, like a pretty bulky Hitmonchan. The one reason why Hitmonchan is so low on the list, look at it, it gets all the elemental punches. It's the punching Pokemon, right? It does all that cool punching stuff. It doesn't get any fighting attacks that are any good. It can't learn superpower, close combat's not in the game. Its best fighting attack, its best stabbed move is Brick Break. And that's just not gonna cut it. Not in my house. I mean, Earthquake's better. Like, think about what you'd be hitting with a fighting attack. You'd be hitting like a rock type, steel type. You could Earthquake those. Earthquake's Hitmonchan's best attack, and it's not even stabbed. So while Hitmonchan has really cool aesthetics, if we're going to compare it to something like a Machamp, who has very similar stats. Machamp is just an upgraded version of Machamp, an upgraded version of Hitmonchan in every way. They have very similar speeds, very similar special defense. Machamp has just more special D, more HP, more attack. I'm pretty sure it has more in almost every single stat, and that's one of the reasons why Hitmonchan falls short. I know you guys are probably looking for some sick Hitmonchan, like, sets, but I mean, you're not going to do much more than this. We're going to take a look at his TM list later. He doesn't really get that much. I know he gets, like, agility, but at the end of the day, he's not even strong enough to, like, KO Pokemon with these moves unless you're using, like, a 4 times effective move, like a Thunder Punch on a Gyarados or an Ice Punch on a Dragonite. And even then, in certain scenarios, if they're, like, impish-natured, you sometimes have to have Stealth Rocks up as well. So, Hitmonchan's super cool. You know I love using this Pokemon, and we're totally going to use it more in videos, but unfortunately, it's going to fall to 5th, and like I said, I really would recommend an Adamant Nature one, but you know, Impish and, you know, Careful, not Calm. So we got like Impish, Careful, Adamant, Jolly. Those are all great Hitmonchan natures. As long as it's not lowering your attack, you're in a pretty good spot. So we're moving on to number 4. We're going fast, hitting hard, hitting fast. That's what fighting types are about. So what is number 4? See, we talked about Hitmonchan and how, you know, it's just base stats aren't really there, and it doesn't really have a good stab move. So what if we compare a Pokemon who has similar base stats, but has that really big stab move? It's actually going to be Hitmonlee. If we look at Hitmonlee, we add Hitmonlee to the list. If we're looking at it right here, it makes sense that I'd be going Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee at 4th and 5th, because they're the only ones that aren't evolved Pokemon. These still have their stats are just somewhat lacking. They're lacking like just a little bit more when it comes to the table, but we're going to talk about the strengths that Hitmonlee actually has here. Note that I really do think Hitmonlee can be Adamant. It can totally be Jolly as well, but unlike Hitmonchan, I would not recommend like a Careful or Impish. This Pokemon is such a glass cannon. Has to be Adamant, has to be Jolly, has to get that speed you need to succeed. Hitmonlee has he's much more polarized than Hitmonchan in that he has like a higher base attack, a higher base speed. His defenses and HP are so much lower though, but Hitmonlee also gets access to High Jump Kick, and High Jump Kick can totally miss. It's a 90 base move. If you miss, you lose half your HP right there. But it's a 130 base move. This is one of the strongest moves in the game. This is stronger than Blizzard's. This is stronger than Fire Blast. This is stronger than Outrage. You know, this is stronger than Superpower. This is a 130 base move, and you cannot deny the fact that this move is going to hit like an absolute truck. So having access to High Jump Kick, you know, sometimes all you need is a bulk up. You got Substitute to block things like Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Waves. You got Rockslide just in case you want to hit flying types. And so, other than that, like, Hitmonlee's really a one-dimensional Pokemon. You're going to come out and you just use High Jump Kick until you're gone. And, you know, you Rockslide anything that would resist said High Jump Kick. If they got a flying type, you Rockslide it. If they got a poison type, you're just kind of sad. Because, believe it or not, like a High Jump Kick, 130. So, 130 base. So, it's going to be 65 plus, and then you stab it. A High Jump Kick, not very effective, is still stronger than a Rockslide. The more you know, the more you know. So yeah, that's Hitmonlee. We're going to look at a couple TMC hits later, but like I said, very decent Pokemon, and we're totally going to use this Pokemon. I think he actually has a little bit more versatility. Both these Pokemon have a little bit more versatility in doubles, but compared to the last 3, they just fall a little bit short. And like I said, the only thing really separating all these Pokemon in terms of like where they go in this tier list is like the slightest thing. Like Hitmonchan being 5th is only a little bit worse, just a little bit worse than the Pokemon that's gonna come in 1st place. All these Pokemon are so similar, but I think that's what makes like ranking them actually a lot more fun, is finding the slightest differences between them. And, you know, talking about them and informing you guys so you guys can make better teams. So we're going to be moving on to the top 3, right? We're moving on to the top 3. I talked about Hitmonchan, I talked about Hitmonlee, and so I wanted to talk now about Machamp. And you may be thinking, Machamp's the best fighting Pokemon. You're stupid. I'm not stupid. I promise. Machamp is really good, but it's just like a better Hitmonchan. The only real difference between Machamp and Hitmonchan, again, you're going to want to go Adamant on this thing, but I've also seen people use, like, Careful. I've also seen Impish, and Jolly works in very niche situations, but Champ has a really low base speed, so, like, I don't even know what you'd be outspeeding being Jolly, so I would just go Adamant with this thing. Note that mine's Bashful because, LOL, I wonder where my Ivies are. Yeah, they're not that great. This is just the Machamp that I got, I caught it and I've evolved it. I just got it for the Pokedex. But yeah, you want to go Adamant. This thing wants to hit hard. And the thing is, Machamp doesn't even really hit that hard. Like, he has 4 arms, but I'm pretty sure he has like a base 110, like, attack or something like that. It's not even great. This Pokemon just really is very underwhelming for what you think when you think of strong fighting types. If we look at its, sorry, my computer did that thing where it went to sleep. I don't know why it does that, but I'm pretty sure when it does, my mic cuts out. Anyways, when you think of Machamp, you know, you think like, I want to hit hard, I want to be strong. In reality, he's just a little bit better than Hitmonchan. He's a little bit slower, he's a little bit bulkier, and he hits just a little bit harder. But the thing that separates Machamp is that he actually gets a fighting type attack that doesn't suck. I mean, Superpower is not optimal. It lowers your attack and defense, but you can mitigate that with the use of Bulk Up. You know, a Bulk Up, a +1 Superpower is going to one-shot any Pokemon if they're taking it as neutral damage. And you can also go like Bulk Up, then Ice Punch, Bulk Up, then Earthquake. Note that note that Machamp has a relatively decent special defense base. So like, if you wanted to go like a Careful Machamp and then Bulk Up, you can get like boost your defenses, you know, with the Bulk Up boosting defense and the Careful nature boosting its special defense. It can become a pretty good tank. Machamp's a pretty good definition of what like a tank is. I think Machamp's a great Pokemon. It's just, unfortunately, it's a little bit too slow. It reacts too often. It can switch in and absorb attacks. It's great against like things like Aerodactyl, because like, what's Aerodactyl going to do to it? Even if it had like Wing Attack, it's not like you get those big KOs, and Machamp's going to be able to deal a lot of damage back to Aerodactyl with moves like Ice Punch and stuff. So Machamp being an amazing Pokemon, I think Machamp's like a run-of-the-mill, like, decent Pokemon. Like, every single time you see someone use Machamp, you're not going to be like, oh, that thing sucks. You're just going to be like, I can probably deal with that. And that's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. Now, the next 2 Pokemon in the list actually bring something completely different to the table. You know, these 3 are what most people think of when they think of fighting Pokemon. At least in Gen 1. It's safe to assume that, like, anytime anyone say, name a fighting Pokemon in Gen 1, you'd name one of these 3 Pokemon. Everyone would. This is the standard tried and true example of what fightings are. These next 2 Pokemon in the top 2 differentiate themselves just a bit, just enough to bring a little bit more to the table to make them exceptionally stand out. So we're actually going to talk about number 2. It's actually going to be Poliwrath. Most people would probably put Poliwrath at number 1. And I'm going to talk about why it's pretty good, and I'm going to talk about why it's not number 1. So Poliwrath is the only one that has a different type. It is a fighting water. So being a fighting water, it adds weaknesses to grass, to like electric, to stuff like that. But maybe thinking like, oh, but it adds like advantages, like you can hit fire types. I mean, most fighting types don't have a problem with fire types because most of them pack like Earthquake and stuff like that. And again, for hitting like rock types and stuff like that, you already are a fighting type, so it's not like you really gain any offensive pressure from being a water type. More so, you gain like the defensive pressure from being a water type. Water types are a pretty bulky defensive type. You're gonna be able to switch in on a lot of things you wouldn't actually think about. Water has a lot of like decent resistances. Also note that Poliwrath gets moves that none of these other Pokemon get. It gets Hypnosis, for example. Its stats are tweaked a little bit better. So again, like if we're taking Machamp as the example, we're sacrificing just the slightest amount of attack, I think, getting a lot more bulky, all around getting a little bit more speed. I think Poliwrath just has a little bit better allocated base stats than Machamp does. It has multiple different stabs, you know, like a lot of the Pokemon that will be able to wall the superpower, you can hit for a stabbed waterfall, and Poliwrath is just a Pokemon that can do a lot of things that Machamp can't do. It can also be a pretty decent special attacker if you wanted to. It gets a great special move pool. For Poliwrath, you can see that I've actually decided to go with Adamant, but a lot of people use Jolly Poliwrath as well. It has just enough speed to be usable. This Pokemon's always been kind of alright, and it gets a great TM move pool. Once we get looking at the TMs, you're going to see that's where Poliwrath really shines. It's Poliwrath's ability to do a lot of the things that the other fighting Pokemon can't, that gives it that like usefulness. It gets moves like Psychic if you want to be able to punish the other fighting types. It gets access, like I said, to Hypnosis, and a bunch of other really niche moves to get access like Poison Jab and stuff as well. Really cool Pokemon, definitely untapped potential. This is a great Pokemon for countering Aerodactyls. So if like Aerodactyl is giving you a hard time, if every single time you want to build a team, you're like, dang it, I want to build this team, but I'm weak to Aerodactyl, use Poliwrath. It resists the rocks from Rock Slides and Stealth Rocks, and can one-shot Aerodactyl right back with a Waterfall. It's a pretty cool Pokemon. I'd highly recommend it if you haven't used one yet. Yeah, plus, it's a ton of fun to play with. Right. And we got to follow. I'm not even live, but Tejadal. Thank you for the follow. Sometimes I have that disabled, sometimes I don't, but thank you for the follow, my guy, as we're going to be moving on to what I think is the best fighting Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and it's actually going to be Primeape. Now, you guys have seen me use Primeape a lot recently on the YouTube channel and on Twitch, and a lot of you guys, before seeing those videos, would probably say, like, I'm trying to think of what most people's list would be. Most people's list would probably be, like, Machamp, Poliwrath, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Primeape. A lot of people would put Primeape last, and like I said, the only thing separating the Pokemon that comes in 5th and the Pokemon comes in 1st is just slight variations. And believe it or not, like I was saying, Poliwrath does things that a lot of the other fighting types can't. Primeape does a ton of things the other fighting types can't, and it is the least fighting type out of all of the fighting types. We're going to see as I look at my moveset here. So we're going to look at keep calling it Poliwrath. We're going to look at Primeape. Note that we're Jolly Nature. Primeape is the fastest one out of all of these Pokemon, so that's very important to note. It's the fastest one, base 95, so it has that speed that it needs to succeed, and then it learns a lot of moves that it learns 2 moves that none of the others get that make it so much more useful than all the other ones. One thing about fighting types is they struggle against psychic types, and, you know, a lot more often, you stay in with a fighting type, you're going to use Bulk Up or a Fighting Attack, or literally anything. Most people can just switch in a Ghost type. Most people can just switch in a Psychic type. Starmie is a great example at walling like every single one of those. Like, let's say I have an Aerodactyl out, and you're like, cool, I can hit that with an Ice Punch or a Fighting Attack or literally anything. You switch in Starmie, you're so walled on like every fighting type. Starmie's just going to absolutely destroy you. So Primeape can kind of get around that, whereas a lot of the other ones can't. So we're going to look at the moveset that makes Primeape work. It has Taunt, the best move in the game. It has U-Turn, and it's fast enough to use both of these things effectively. It gets Ice Punch. It gets all the elemental punches, but I think Ice Punch is the best because it helps you hit those flying types. It's really good against Dragonites, Zapdoses, Aerodactyls. Those are some perfect things. And then last but not least, you got Earthquake. I don't know if it gets Superpower or, you know, I know it gets like Brick Break, but Earthquake's actually the best. This Pokemon doesn't even need a fighting attack. It doesn't even need to stab anything. This Pokemon is just a great use of allocated base stats. I think actually it has lower base stats than almost all of the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. But it has those stats perfect where they need to be. It has just enough attack. It has just enough speed. And while sure, it's not really tanking attacks all that well, you don't ever really have to tank attacks because you have U-Turn. You know, OHKO the things you need to OHKO, one-shot the things with Ice Punch, one-shot the things with Earthquakes, taunt the things so they can't set up, and then just U-Turn out. This Pokemon is amazing. You guys are seeing it a lot in my YouTube videos, like right now. And I just love this Pokemon. I've always thought it was good. And it gets a lot of good heart skill moves. It gets access to Encore. Do you know how unique that is? This Pokemon learns so many cool moves that a lot of other things don't get. And, you know, that definitely makes it, in my opinion, the best fighting type in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Pikachu, and Eevee. Doesn't even use a fighting attack. It doesn't even, like, want one. Like, a fighting attack would make this Pokemon worse for what it exactly needs to do. Because Primeape doesn't need to use Superpower. It doesn't need to. It doesn't even, like, want to. Because its attack stat's so low that, like, Superpower wouldn't really even get it any KOs on anything that's, like, a two-shot from... Like, you'd be two-shotting most things with Superpower, plus lowering your stats. But you could also just two-shot them with Earthquake, or two-shot them with Ice Punch. So, more often than not, with Primeape, you just have to expect your opponent to switch accordingly, play accordingly. But if you know what they're going to do, you can, you know, use U-Turn or Taunt, or Ice Punch or Earthquake on the switch. Great coverage, great Pokemon. We're now going to be moving into the TM section, and it's going to showcase a lot of these Pokemon can only really learn very specific moves. We're going to see Pokemon like Poliwrath and Primeape really learn a lot more than the others. So, obviously, we're not going to want any special attacks on any of these Pokemon, barring Poliwrath in unique circumstances. So, all these guys learn Brick Break. Breaking those screens, that's pretty good. These guys stab Brick Break. If you're looking for a Brick Break user in the whole game, all of these Pokemon are great options because they're going to be able to deal the most damage off that Brick Break because of the stab bonus. No Calm Minds, no Dark Pulse, don't need Drill Run or any of those things. Dig's not great either. You know, but nice and fast. All these guys go in Earthquake. Do I recommend it on all of them? Not really, because think about what you're hitting with Earthquake. You're hitting, like, Rock types, Steel types, you know, the same things that take super effective damage from your stab fighting attacks. Note that I have it on Primeape and Hitmonchan and Machamp, because that's like these Pokemon have just enough to make it usable. It's really good against low and Muck. All of these Pokemon, like Machamp in particular, can one-shot things like Jolteon, Electrode, Raichu with the Earthquake. Same goes for Gengar. If those Pokemon are a problem for you, definitely think about putting Earthquake on some of these Pokemon. Facade's okay. These are all physical attackers. I don't really recommend it, but if you know your opponent's going to be using like Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, plan on switching in on it. Facade doubles damage if you got that status condition, so definitely usable if you're susceptible to that type of damage. Not really going for any type of fire attacks. These guys, most of them can learn the punches. Hitmonlee used to be able to learn the elemental punches. They took that out for this game, which I think is balanced, because like it's the kicking Pokemon. It shouldn't be fire punching people. But Machamp can learn it. I think Ice Punch is better. Hitmonchan has it. My computer did that thing where it went into sleep mode again. Hitmonchan has it just because I think with Hitmonchan you gotta go all 3 elemental punches, because it's Hitmonchan. It's just hilarious. Foul Play, none of these guys learn it. No Fly, no Flash Cannon, no Flamethrower. I mean, Machamp can learn it, but LOL. Headbutt's not that great. Ice Punch is on a lot of these Pokemon. It's great at picking off those flying types, because remember, flying types are what, more often than not, people are going to switch in to try and punish these guys. So going with like a big Ice Punch, pretty good. If you catch them on the switch with the Ice Punch, your secondary Ice Punch will be able to KO them, so you just got to play smart when using it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get like any one-hit KOs, unless it's on something like Dragonite. Outrage, Primeape, taking center stage, can learn Outrage. Do I recommend it? Not really. Think about what you're hitting with Outrage, like Dragonite, Charizard X. You can Earthquake the Charizard X, and against Dragonite, you can Ice Punch a Dragonite. So do I recommend Outrage at all? No, but it's pretty cool. I guess also Lone Executor, so another thing you can Ice Punch. So Mega Drain, nothing. Machamp can learn Light Screen. Shoutouts to Machamp, boosting that specialty even higher. I like seeing it. Do I recommend it? Maybe, it's kind of funny. Poliwrath can learn the Psychic. Did my controller just die? I think my controller just died. No, it didn't die. There we go. Poliwrath can learn Psychic, like I said. It's really good at checking other fighting types. Maybe that's an option for you. Maybe not. Who knows? I've seen, every single time I ever go across Poliwrath in my team builder, everyone's like, use Psychic Poliwrath. There's always like someone that says it. I'm not a fan, but I know it is usable. It will two-shot any of these Pokemon. It might even one-shot a couple of them, depending on your nature on your Poliwrath. No one's learned to Reflect. They don't even need any defense. Who needs it? They'll get bulk up anyways. No player ups. They're weak against fairy attacks. Makes sense. Rest, not really going to be value on any of these guys. Maybe the Machamp if you're going for like a huge bulk up set, but I don't recommend it. Rockslide, all these Pokemon learn Rockslide, but like I said in Hitmonlee's case, like a stabbed like 120 plus move is going to be better. It's going to be stronger, even if it's not very effective against like an example like a poison Pokemon, than just a neutral Rockslide. This is only really good for hitting like flying types and bug types, and more often than not, you're just better going with the Ice Punch for the flying types, because Rockslide can miss, and you can be like, yeah, it can miss, but it can flinch, but all your Pokemon are slow, so like, you're not going to flinch. You're just too slow. Like Hitmonchan, Machamp, Poliwrath, they're all too slow to really go for the flinch hacks. More often than not. And for flinching, Poliwrath already has like Waterfall, so you don't really need Rockslide. Nothing's learning Roost. Poliwrath, Corn Scald, more special attacks. I've seen special Poliwrath. It's not terrible. It's definitely usable. Sludge Bomb, nope. No Shadow Balls. No one's popping the Self-Destruct. Even though all these things can learn Seismic Toss, it's not great just because, it deals damage based on your current level. Once you set its normal rules, it's doing 50. These Pokemon can do more than 50 HP damage with any of their attacks, so Seismic Toss, while cool, you don't really need it. No Solar Beams. Unfortunately, none of these guys can learn Rocks. That'd be pretty cool if maybe one of them could. That would definitely make whatever one of these can learn Rocks #1 on the list, but nothing gets it. Sub's good on all these guys. The only problem with Sub is, again, you're really slow, so you have to be using Sub on a switch, and then you have to have like moves that can sway the tide of battle. Like you pop a Sub, and then you have to be able to switch your move and like one-shot something on the switch. So let's think of like a decent example. Maybe you send out Hitmonlee, who has Sub right now, to check a Snorlax, and you're like, well, they're gonna switch. So on your switch, you pop a Sub, and they switch to something else to block it, maybe like a poison type, and then you slam in the face with the Earthquake and get the 1-hit KO. So like, that's a decent example of like the perfect scenario to use Sub. Only reason we really have Sub on Hitmonlee is just because its move pool is so subpar. Doesn't really get that many good moves. I think I actually have Rockslide on Hitmonlee, yeah, because it just doesn't really have that many good moves. It gets like Sub, Bulk Up, Rockslide, High Jump Kick. It'd be cool if Hitmonlee got other stuff, but all these Pokemon work with Sub, but I just don't really recommend it. Superpower. Yeah, see, Hitmonchan can't learn Superpower. What a slacker. All these other ones can, except for Primeape. Yeah, Primeape can't learn either. So, like, another reason why you just don't need those fighting type attacks. But, like I said, even if I had the option for superpower, I still wouldn't use it on Primeape. Earthquake's better for what his moveset's trying to do. Got that T-Bolt. Primeape can learn Thunderbolt. Who knew? Don't do that. Nothing's learned Teleport. Primeape, only one that learns Taunt, makes it the best one. That's pretty much it. It learns Taunt. It's the best one in my opinion. Poliwrath getting Surf. I'd rather use Scald. Toxic's okay on Decent. U-Turn. Primeape, another Pokemon. Only getting one thing. You see, just like I said, slight differences. Poliwrath and Primeape can learn moves that none of these other ones can, and that puts them just slightly ahead of the rest of the pack. No Will-O-Wisp, no X-Scissors. Waterfall Poliwrath already has it. No Thunder Waves. That'd be pretty cool. Apparently, Primeape can learn Thunder. That doesn't make any sense at all. Maybe it's got hit by Pikachu's Thunderbolt too many times, try to store some of that electricity. No Mega Horn. All these guys can learn Bulk Up, and I have it on most of them. Bulk Up's an amazing move. It increases your attack, it increases your defense. Stat boosting moves are premium in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It's just unfortunate none of these Pokemon really have the speed to be able to pull off a sweep after they get a few Bulk Ups. They're just too slow. Poison Jab, all these guys can learn it, except for Hitmonchan. It's funny, it's called Poison Jab, and he's like the Jab Pokemon. Kind of, but he can't learn it. It's decent on Hitmonlee. More often than not, though, what are you hitting with Poison Jab? A grass type? Well, most grass types are grass poison. So you're going to deal neutral damage, which means you're just better off using Ice Punch. So that's why we don't use Poison Jab. It's good against fairy types. There's like 3 of those in the game, you know. And the thing is, even if you have Poison Jab on any of these Pokemon, you can't one-hit KO things like Clefable, which is probably the most common fairy type. You could OHKO a Ninetales like an Alola Ninetales. But, you know, again, it's not really worth it. I wouldn't really recommend it. Dream Eater. Nope, not even Poliwrath can learn Dream Eater. Can't even go for any of the Hypnosis Dream Eater shenanigans. Last but not least, Primeape can totally learn Iron Tail. I've talked about it before, like Iron Tailing with Primeape against Aerodactyl. Unfortunately, it doesn't OHKO, but it would KO after a Stealth Rock. So if you're, again, playing against like Aerodactyls in like the mid-game, and they've taken 1 tick from Stealth Rocks, which is 25%, then Primeape can actually come in and KO with an Iron Tail, and you're actually going to be able to fight Aerodactyl relatively easily. You live the Earthquake. I don't know if you live the Wing Attack, because Primeape's really frail, but Wing Attack Aerodactyl is really uncommon. So that's the list, guys. This is probably the fastest video in the whole series, just because there's only really 5, and they're so similar. But I feel that, like, this is just a really cool list, and I really am interested in hearing your list in the comments below, and hearing if you guys finish the video. Guys, I just want to say thank you for watching the series so much. I'm going to be at Sac Anime Convention in Sacramento, Northern California this weekend, and I'm going to be hosting Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee singles and doubles tournaments. So I just wanted to say at the end of this video, if you guys are going to be in the area, want to meet me, want to play in my tournaments, win some prizes, please feel free to stop by the convention. Like I said, I'm going to be the person in charge of hosting the tournaments, so hopefully you guys come out. If not, that's cool. Other than that, guys, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.